Okay, this is from a couple of days ago, but I am not going to waste the chance to talk about this game because it's no secret I am a massive fan of Black Myth Wukong. It is a game that I wholeheartedly enjoyed from beginning to end. Not only of the game itself, don't get me wrong, that I love the game, but also what it meant. You see, Black Myth Wukong, it's a game that everyone described, myself included, as just too good to be true. When we saw the game announced from a Chinese studio that hasn't made anything like this before, it was like, no way this lives up to the expectations. The more we saw, the more incredible it looked. So the studio had a lot to prove with this game. Everyone was skeptical. It even had to contest with our wonderful friends in gaming mainstream media that seemed to be on a quest to just bring down the game before it came out. Of course, when the game finally came out and we actually saw it and play it, my God, is it good. I mean, not only it looks fantastic, but it's very fun to play. But it's still a game that proved that Chinese studios can deliver AAA quality. But this video is not about Black Myth Wukong. In fact, this video is about the next game from Game Science, Black Myth Zhong Kui, which will take a new protagonist, is a Taoist deity in Chinese mythology, traditionally regarded as a vanquisher of ghosts and evil beings. And I totally didn't read that from Wikipedia just now, because I am not very versed in Chinese mythology and folklore. But I like it, okay? What little I've seen, I liked it. Honestly, one of the few stories that I was familiar with was actually, Journey to the West. So there were moments and things very familiar in Black Myth Wukong. This one, though, never heard of it. So you are free to point out in the comment section below if I'm making any mistakes while talking about it. Now, this game is still years away. A speculation in the industry puts it at least 2028. But pretty much out of nowhere, we got a 15-minute gameplay trailer for this game. And oh my god, how good it looks. Because we are on a roll with Chinese games, with Phantom Blade Zero just around the corner. We'll go over the trailer, let's see how it is. And we can theorize how can it be actually playing it. So how the systems could actually work in the game. So let's just get into it. Now the trailer starts. Essentially we got what I assume is our protagonist, which is Zhong Kui. Looks like he's stranded on an island. I mean, it's not... The whole trailer has no dialogue, but it shows that it looks like he's lost in this island. Seems to have been maybe stranded. And then we can see him, he falls to the ground, and when he stands up, we get a close-up of his face. And you can clearly see so much detail in his face. And the thing that caught my attention the most, his lips. They are all dry and cut. So you can see that he's clearly dehydrated. Besides, he's beat up and bruised. I'm assuming this is from the beginning of the game. He walks around and finds an old man that apparently he meets right there. Now, they seem to be lost in an island, I assume, because they're building a raft, and they take the raft to the ocean. They get caught in the storm. I assume that they crash somewhere else. Then we shift to gameplay. So we get a cutscene where he's carrying the old man on his back, and as he approaches like a tree, you have a bunch of enemies surrounding him. He leaves the old man on the ground, and then transition into actual gameplay. The feeling I get from the combat, he fights a group of 6, 7... That wasn't on purpose. Enemies. And the feeling I get, it's honestly Phantom Blade Zero. From everything we've seen from Phantom Blade Zero, this one seems to be going more into that direction. There is a few movements that I've seen very, very fluid, which is very Kung Fu-like. So we get quite a fight. And there is a few things you can point out from this. First, there seems to be a lot of effort into perfect dodging, but specifically parrying. He seems to shift a lot the attacks of the enemies away from him. Also, if you pause at any point, there is like this very light rain that you can barely see on the screen, but you can see it on the ground. The detail, it is amazing, but it looks fantastic. And another thing, looks very interesting because there seems to be a lot of finishers, very fancy finishers. You can see some enemies that simply die by being repeatedly hit with the sword, but others seem to get like an execution. And there is like 3 variations that seem very elaborate. Now, yes, if you want to quote unquote criticize something from this, it's like, seems like the enemies are from the Assassin's Creed school of fighting in a group. I really like the dodges. You don't dodge roll, you simply, like, he slightly moves his body while avoiding the blade, which is pretty damn cool. And one thing I liked is that it really transitions between cutscene and gameplay. When the last enemy is defeated, it transitions into an execution, but this time is different, is within a cutscene. And this is where the trailer gets really weird. So he goes check the old man. Oh, he's dead. Oh. You see, when he checks he's dead, how do I put it? The old man's skin peels off his body and it just floats away like sort of like strings of paper. The body disappears and it kind of guides you where you need to go. It is very weird. Then the skin flies away. Again, the detail in the environment. Now, keep in mind, this gameplay, it's very linear in terms of the movement. The character doesn't go out of the beaten path. So it's not very clear how much will you be able to move around. And he encountered some dogs. They attacked him. When he kills the archer. Now, here is an interesting part. Now, to the right, which is the path he needs to go, there is a bunch of rocks. In Wukong, there were many scenes like this that it looks like you would be able to climb on top or jump on top of these rocks because they're not very tall. But when you did, on top of the rock, there was an invisible wall. Because the game was so detailed, even outside of the playable area, many places it felt like that. Oh, I can go there and oh. So it was kind of confusing, although something we can praise. It didn't have yellow paint on. So he then comes to something that is a bit more open area and a few new enemies show up. And here comes something very, very cool. He uses like a magic attack where he throws a ball of fire that bounces on the floor and lights everything on fire. The enemies, but also the trees and the ground around this area. What I thought it was crazy is how the trees lit up. Then he uses like the sword and ability to... It absorbs the fire that the enemies had. But the trees remain lit. This reminds me, and it's going to show my age a little bit, but Far Cry 2, you know, I'm pretty sure it was 2, the one in Africa. And I remember being blown away when I play that you can burn the fields. You will start a fire and the fire will start spreading across the field. And at that time, it was pretty cool. I don't even remember which year that came out. Maybe this is something here, depending. So if I use fire near the trees will catch fire. Again, I'm just speculating from what I'm seeing. You need to keep it in mind. I'm just spitballing here, but that would be very, very cool. You see, it's clearly a lot of room where the enemies were, but he doesn't go there. It's an open area, but he stays pretty much where he landed from the rocks and then moves to the left where there is a path. So he goes left, he keeps following the cloud of skin. There is again 8-9 guys. He rushes them, he starts attacking, and the blade that he absorbs the fire now has a fire imbued on it. So there's going to be quite a few. You can see in the background, something I noticed, the cloud of skin, I'm going to keep calling like that, as weird as it is. It grabs one of the guys that you're not fighting and actually kills him while you're fighting the rest. So it looks like that's going to be like sort of a companion that follows you around and helps you. Anyway, you finish fighting, and again, I just keep looking at it, and it just looks so insane. The fidelity in the graphics is just crazy. So you keep following the thing, and then you can see on the ground there is a big puddle, and you can see the drops of rain falling into it. Feels like a very atmospheric game. Keep advancing. Now, what he climbs the second rock, you can see, after that enemy, that... to the right, it really, this time really looks like there is another path to the right, even if it's just to a small ledge, maybe there is something hidden, but there is clearly a path to the right. So all this rock climbing and going into places that in Wukong maybe you wouldn't been able to, it's pretty cool. Maybe that is a response to that. And you can see as he climbs the rocks, the cloud of skin comes from the right and flies in front of him. And there is clearly open area to the right. Then he keeps going and we arrive at what is obviously a boss fight because there's a massive open area. There's a small body of water at the end and the papers dive in and it transitions into a cutscene. And I'm going to sound like a broken record, but when it zooms out, he getting into the water and all the drops of rain falling into it, it just looks so gorgeous. He goes underwater, follows the thing that it's near the bottom. When he arrives, he sees a woman. And when he's lifting her up, something attacks him. Now he gets out of the water where he entered, and then a freak of nature comes out of the water. Again, someone versed in Chinese folklore or mythology probably can recognize it. And then we have the boss fight. If someone reads Chinese, it can tell me the name because it's on the hell bar. But again, pretty damn cool. You start attacking. There is clearly a lot of movement, counter movement. Then he breaks one of it's not wings because it's more like a shell. One thing I found very interesting in this, with the parries and the counters, you get a lot of feeling of weight in the enemy's weapon. Because you parry the attack to the side and then the blade lands in the ground and it feels heavy. That is something that not a lot of games manage to do. You feel like the sword weighs as much as the one you have, despite the guy being 2 times your size. And then something very funny that I want to talk about. He summons a summon, which is a guy in a dark cloak. The guy helping you, it's actually helping you. It's like the boss tries to attack you and he kind of gets in the way and stops the blade. It is pretty cool. Now, there is one detail that you can notice. As you hit him, you can see the cuts on his legs as you're attacking him. And every time you hit him, on his elbow as well, you can see new cuts appear. And they remain for quite a while. I thought that was a nice little detail. The transition between quick cutscenes and the fight reminds me of God of War. Then, something very cool. He imbues the sword this time with lightning. And at the same time, you get lighting on the scene. And rain starts falling much harder. I don't think the game is that interactable. We saw it with the fire before, that he burns the trees. But I don't think that the environment changes when you imbue it with lighting. That would be very cool, though. Okay, this just came out of my head because I was reading it before. Zhong Kui, the mythological character, he's able to command 80,000 demons to do his bidding. That is probably going to be a mechanic. So the summons are the demons he can command. Because now, in a very smooth transitions, his spirit leaves his body and possesses the summon, and now you fight as him. Now, in Black Myth Wukong, we had the same. You could summon and attack with them, but this one is kind of probably going to be integrated to the story. And, dude, when you possess the summon, the music. I said it with Phantom Blade Zero, but the music in this game is fantastic. I love it. Very instrumental, very dramatic, very epic. And then again it transitions to like the final, like the execution. Goes into a cutscene, and this is what I find weird. You get a cutscene with the execution. So you fight and the summon, it's also fighting with you in the cutscene. What I mean by this, and I'm trying to guess how the summons will work. Does the cutscene change if you didn't summon the guy? Maybe the summon happens automatically during the fight and you have to summon him. The point I'm trying to make. If it is optional, does this cutscene change if you didn't summon the guy or he shows up anyway to finish him? And then the lady that was at the bottom comes out, grabs the boss and it plunges him into the water again. So she's clearly some sort of spirit, maybe. And then it shifts to a bunch of clips from different parts of the game. Then you can see another clip where that same summon is there in what's clearly a cutscene. A bunch of little clips that look very, very cool, very intriguing. Now, here's a few things. In one of these, you can see them like breaking like a window, and they use some fans to blow some smoke into the room, probably something to either kill someone or put them to sleep. I hope, this is my hope, okay? The game has a bit more dialogue than Wukong. The feeling I'm getting from these clips is that it's probably going to be more dialogue, a little more flesh story. He's like burying a guy, but it looks like he's maybe interrogating him. You know, it's a scene where it feels like he should say something at that point to the guy that he's throwing dirt on. So maybe there is dialogue from the protagonist, and maybe there is more interactivity. And before the end, he's fighting another character, another human, and that's where the trailer ends. You can see it written below. All footage was captured in-game from a work-in-progress build. The final release may differ. We will probably differ, but all the footage is captured in-game. That means that the cutscenes at the very beginning, the cinematics, are in-game cinematics. Or at least that's what I assume. And that's it. My god, it looks crazy. Even though the game is pretty far away, I am happy that they're showing more of the game. Like, this is a pretty extended gameplay trailer for being so far away from release. I mean, who knows? Maybe we're surprised and next year they come out, oh, by the way, it's coming on November. That would be very cool. I don't think so. At a closest, I would say early 2028, but we'll see. By the way, one of the things that I really loved about Wukong, now seeing all these enemy types and the bosses, was like the bestiary, the compendium, you know, where it kept track of the allies and enemies. I love the way they went about it. You didn't have like a straight up description of the enemy. Oh yes, these are wolf type enemies that show up here. No. So instead of explaining what the enemy is, like in sort of a textbook, it actually had a little story where the character is portrayed or he participates in. I thought that was very cool, and I hope they bring that back with this one. But anyway, that is the trailer we got for Black Myth Zhong Kui. And now, you can let me know in the comments below if some of you are more versed in Chinese folklore and mythology. Let me know your theories, because if you're more familiar with the characters that show up, you probably can tell me a little bit more. Maybe you have other theories, how the story could go, which part of this character's life could adapt. Remember, Wukong, technically you don't play as the original, and it happens after the book, The Journey to the West. So who knows, maybe this one happens before, because the description of the character is usually more of an old man, more adult man with a long beard. This one seems kind of young. Maybe it goes through some of the events of his life. Who knows? Either way, as always, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I hope you have a lovely day. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.